Have you ever heard the echo of a medieval bell vibrating through mist-covered valleys? What if there were a country where castles reach the sky, where forests guard ancient secrets, and age-old cities whisper stories that were never forgotten? There is a country where all of this is real, a relic of Europe, where architecture dares to dream, nature still speaks, and culture beats like an ancestral heart. This country is called Germany. But what makes this land one of the most fascinating destinations on the planet? What lies behind the modern image the world thinks it knows? And why have so many never seen its true wonders? Today, here on our planet, you will discover it, but not just with your eyes. You'll feel history with your fingertips, hear the soul of the forests, and when it all ends, nothing inside you will be the same. From the banks of the Rhine to the Bavarian Alps, a territory spanning over 350,000 square kilometers, Germany reveals itself as the heart of Central Europe, a tapestry of contrasts and rediscoveries. A country that borders 9 nations, France, Poland, Austria, Switzerland, and others who share centuries of history and living frontiers. In this land shaped by wars and rebirths, over 83 million people live in one of Europe's most vibrant hearts. A visual symphony spread across northern plains, southern mountains, and cities that echo the footsteps of time. It's as if the Creator sculpted a book of stone, water, and light, and left its pages open for those who dare to contemplate. In this documentary, we'll reveal what lies beyond Berlin, discover why Germany is far more than it appears to be, and decode the details that only those who look with the soul can truly see. If in our last documentary, we were astonished by the force of the elements in Chile, with its deserts, volcanoes, and glaciers, today it's the European spirit that calls us. From the romance of castles to the calm of lakes, from Berlin's street art to the legends of the Black Forest, Germany invites us to walk through centuries in just a few steps. But be warned, this documentary is not about what everyone already knows. It's about the places many have overlooked. Some isolated, others forgotten, and some on the verge of disappearing. You'll walk among towers that inspired legends, sail across lakes that reflect creation itself, and get lost in forests where time seems to sleep. But before we begin, take a breath and check if you're already subscribed here to our planet. That ensures you keep traveling with us along paths that aren't on any map. Now, adjust your eyes, open your senses, let your TV's glow transform your room into a portal, and prepare your heart, because the journey is about to begin. And it begins where castles touch the sky. Neuschwanstein and the Bavarian Alps, castles floating between clouds and silence. Located in southern Germany, near the border with Austria, Neuschwanstein Castle rests atop the Bavarian Alps, about 130 kilometers from Munich. It's one of the most visited monuments in Europe, a dreamlike construction commissioned by King Ludwig II of Bavaria, a romantic gem that seems lifted from a fairy tale. Imagine a fortress where architecture touches the sky, and each tower reaches upward like a silent prayer. Neuschwanstein is a sculpture of stone and mist, shaped with devotion by the hands of imagination and the Creator. Here, time didn't just pass, it remained. The mountains surrounding the castle rise above 2,000 meters in height, standing like natural walls against oblivion. Dense forests, lakes that mirror the sky, and villages seemingly asleep in the 19th century create a hypnotic landscape, where silence has both sound and color. Just a few steps away shines the serene Lake Alpsee. Its crystalline waters reflect the castle like a mirror of creation, a natural gateway to a world of fantasy. Nearby, the village of Füssen preserves age-old traditions. Wood artisans, century-old bakeries, and flowered windows tell silent stories. With each step, Germany reveals its most poetic soul. Standing before Neuschwanstein is like seeing a dream carved in stone, as if each arch were a verse immortalized by time, and every detail a sigh from the Creator for beauty itself. But its grandeur lies not only in the walls. At the foot of the mountains, deer walk with grace, and eagles slice through the sky with majesty. These animals seem to know. They live in a sacred theater, a place so magical it inspired the creation of Cinderella's castle in Disney's theme parks. At dawn, when the first rays kiss its towers, the stones take on golden hues, as if the castle were waking slowly, framed by the light. It's a spectacle that silences every voice. Weather in the Alps is unpredictable. In a single day, fog, sun, wind, and snow take turns. They say Neuschwanstein has as many faces as there are seasons. Several trails surround the region. One of the most famous leads to the Marienbrücke, a suspended bridge with a direct view of the castle. Each step there is a prayer in motion. And here, before this stone fantasy and the Alps that touch the sky, our journey begins. But what if Germany's living traditions were even more surprising? Get ready, because the next destination will take us to the vibrant heart of Bavaria, where culture is celebrated and history is served in beer steins and folk songs. Munich and its traditions, where the soul of Germany sings out loud. In the heart of Bavaria rises a city that pulses between the ancient and the eternal. Munich is more than a capital. It's a cradle of tradition and a guardian of an identity forged with pride. Located just over 100 kilometers from the Alps, Munich is home to about 1.5 million people. It's the third largest city in Germany and one of the most beloved by its own citizens. Here, everything seems to carry history. The sound of bells echoes through medieval squares, while century-old breweries open their doors, as if they've been waiting for you for generations. Not by chance, Marienplatz is the heart of Munich. There, the Glockenspiel delights crowds with its mechanical theatre, making time dance across Gothic rooftops. But amid so much history, life pulses with intensity. In the English garden, youth families and travellers share the green with surfers who challenge the iceberg. The Oktoberfest is the pinnacle of that energy. Every year, over 6 million people gather to celebrate. It's not just beer, it's culture served in steins, with soul and smiles in traditional outfits. At Viktualienmarkt, flavors and aromas blend in a sensory festival. Sausages, dark breads, cheeses, pies. It's as if Germany concentrated here, its most authentic essence. The churches rise like stone prayers. The Frauenkirche dominates the skyline. With its twin towers, it seems to always watch over the city, silent yet ever present. At night, Munich's golden lights awaken the memories, and every corner invites the unexpected. It's a city where time doesn't rush. It speaks to those who know how to listen. And the Bavarians, proud, yes, but welcoming. Those who walk here feel rooted, as if the city whispered, "You are home." Walking through Munich is connecting with the essence of a people who celebrate life in the smallest things. A toast, a song, a conversation under the shade of a tree. Everything here has soul. Munich is not something to explain. It's something to experience. Some places touch us through images, others through stories. But Munich touches through presence, an invisible warmth that embraces the soul without asking and stays even when we leave. Because that's what Munich is, a living root, spreading through the veins of Germany, nourishing everything with tradition, beauty, and pride. It's a bridge between the past and the now, where every detail carries soul, and every corner, a memory that refuses to fade. That's Munich, a place where the past hasn't been forgotten and the present is celebrated like an eternal festival. Here, tradition is a way of life. If you felt that too, write in the comments, root. No explanations, no spoilers, just root. That way, we'll know this story touched you too. But now, get ready to breathe in the purest air in Germany. In the next destination, we'll climb into the clouds and dive into the sacred reflection of the mountains. Zugspitze and Lake Eibsee, where the sky rests upon the mountain's mirror. In southern Germany, about 80 kilometers from Munich, rises the imposing Zugspitze, the highest peak in the country, standing nearly 3,000 meters tall. Located on the border with Austria, it dominates the skyline of the Garmisch-Partenkirchen region, a place where the Alps rise high and reflections turn into poetry. At its feet lies the Lake Eibsee. With glacial waters and emerald hues, it reflects the Zugspitze with almost divine clarity. It's as if the Creator placed a mirror there to admire his own masterpiece. In the heart of this setting, a cable car station takes visitors to the summit, an aerial journey over snowy chasms and ancient trails, a flight suspended between time and eternity. From up above, the view reaches 4 countries: Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Italy. It feels like the continents breathe together beneath the same snowy mantle. But this place doesn't just speak to the eyes. It speaks to the soul. The silence at the summit, the biting wind, and the white vastness make us feel small. Zugspitze is revered, but also feared by mountaineers. Its name means Peak of the Sled Trail, and to this day, it holds stories of challenges and triumphs carved in snow. But it's not just about adventure. In summer, the trails surrounding Eibsee come alive. Families stroll, cyclists ride through forests, and the water invites contemplative swims. The lake changes color throughout the day. In the morning, it's emerald green. By sunset, a deep blue takes over, as if time were being painted in liquid layers. Around it, small islands float like green gems. There are 8 in total, untouched, mysterious. They hold the silence of centuries and stories no one dared to write. For those seeking adventure, there are trails that circle Eibsee for about 8 kilometers. A gentle walk, but filled with breathtaking views. At every turn, a new picture unfolds. And from up above, when the sun begins to set, Zugspitze bathes in golden light, as if the mountain were dressed in a cloak of light. A spectacle that only those who are present can understand. But Germany hides other alpine surprises. If we follow the mountains, we reach the Zugspitze Arena, a valley between peaks, blending sports, traditions, and pure contemplation. Nearby are the alpine stations of Erwald and Greno, villages that look like living scale models, where time runs slowly and every detail seems carefully stitched into the landscape. And then, the Höllental, the Valley of Hell, a narrow and challenging trail that leads to the north face of the Zugspitze, an extreme journey for those seeking to conquer their own limits. Zugspitze is duality, beauty and challenge, tranquility and bravery. Ybbsee is the heart that reflects what words can't reach. In this place, creation speaks in whispers. The sky, the water, and the rock meet in communion, and those who witness it are never the same again. Now tell me, where are you watching from? Which city or country do you call home? Write it in the comments, share this moment with us, because while the world watches, you are part of this journey. And if you think you've already seen the peak, just wait. The next destination will take us to a medieval village where time stood still and fantasy never ceased to exist. Rothenburg ob der Tauber, where time rests and fantasy never left. In the heart of Germany's romantic road emerges a village where time seems suspended. Rothenburg ob der Tauber, a medieval treasure hidden among hills and forests. With fewer than 12,000 inhabitants, the town rests above the Tauber River Valley. Its intact walls embrace towers, colorful houses, and stone streets that have heard centuries of stories. Here, every alley invites the imagination. Half-timbered facades, secret gardens, and flowered windows create the atmosphere of a living book. Everything feels hand-drawn, from the clock tower to the famous Plönlein, the crossroads that seems pulled from a fairy tale. A painting that breathes history. As you walk, the cobblestones echo like voices from another time. Knights, merchants, kings, and travelers all passed through here and left invisible marks in the wind that dances along the walls. Rothenburg keeps Christmas alive year-round. Themed shops, lit-up pine trees, and wooden doll displays keep the childhood flame burning all year long. Many call this place the Dream City. Others say it's the most charming village in the world. But there's one feeling everyone shares when they arrive here. That hurry was left at the door. When the golden hour light bathes the rooftops, the city takes on a golden glow, as if giving thanks to the Creator for the beauty it preserves, and for the silence it still protects. The valley around it is green and serene. The Tauber River winds softly, nourishing vineyards and stories. From atop the walls, the view looks like an eternal postcard. And it's not just about beauty. The town has survived wars, fires, sieges, and time itself. Each scar is now a medal, a sign that faith endures where roots run deep. Here the past is not a memory, it is presence. Narrow streets, lanterns lit, and the scent of fresh bread from the oven turn the present into nostalgia. But what enchants them most is the feeling of being inside a lucid dream. Every camera click fails to capture the soul of this place. Only the eyes and the heart can. Historians explain its architecture with dates, but visitors explain it with sighs. It feels as though the city speaks to you without saying a word. And maybe that's the secret. Rothenburg doesn't seek to impress, it seeks to move you, to be felt like a hug from time itself. Few places in the world keep the essence of timeless beauty alive. Rothenburg does. It transforms history into poetry for your feet. Getting here is easy, but leaving is hard, because something inside you stays behind in the windows, in the bells, and in the golden shadows of twilight. Those who visit Rothenburg take a part of the place with them, but they also leave something behind, an enchanted gaze, a silent smile, or simply the certainty of having touched the unforgettable. But the journey continues, and in the next chapter we will dive into the darker heart of Germany, a dense forest where legends are born and nature whispers in mystery. Black Forest, where time hides among the trees. In southwestern Germany, between the Rhine valleys and the French Alps, sprawls a kingdom of shadow and light. Welcome to the Black Forest. With over 6,000 square kilometers, it is one of the most enigmatic regions in Europe, a living tapestry woven with dense pines, lingering mists, and trails that seem to vanish into time. Here silence runs deep. At dawn, the fog blankets the valleys like veils, and the sound of the wind feels like the whisper of something ancient. For centuries, this forest has fed legends and mysteries. Wolves, witches, and enchanted beings emerged from the imaginations of those who dared cross it. But there is also a serene beauty. Hidden lakes, stepped waterfalls, and trails covered in golden leaves invite you into inner silence. The Black Forest is also a natural laboratory. Its biodiversity shelters deer, badgers, foxes, and hundreds of bird species. a protected refuge where life moves to an ancestral rhythm. But beyond science, this is sacred ground. For many, this is where the Creator left his subtlest echoes, scattered among twisted roots and trees that seem to touch the sky. And in the face of this landscape, a word whispers through the leaves. Reverence. If you felt that too, click like. It's your way of saying, I heard the forest. Because the Black Forest doesn't reveal itself all at once. It unfolds slowly, like a secret, told only to those who arrive with respect. Among its treasures was Lake Titisee, of glacial origin. It's a mirror surrounded by pines, and in summer, an invitation to dive into calm. The contrast is enchanting. In winter, the forest sleeps beneath the snow. In autumn, it burns in copper tones. In summer, it explodes in green. And in spring, it seems to whisper rebirth. With every step, your pace grows lighter. The air is pure, time slows down, and the body feels the touch of deep peace. Even those who come from afar feel as though they've always belonged here. Families, adventurers, pilgrims, all surrender to the same spell, the spell of contemplation. And just when you think you've seen it all, the forest surprises once more. A new path, a new sound, a new silence. The name Black Forest comes from the Latin silva nigra, a reference to the density of its trees, so tightly packed that light can't reach the ground. But beneath this twilight, mushrooms, mosses, and lichens flourish, tiny worlds that teach us that even in the dark, life finds a way to bloom. There are also hidden villages with dark wooden chalets, cuckoo clocks, and the aroma of rye bread escaping through the windows. Here, time walks barefoot. As you leave, you don't exit the forest. It leaves with you in the scent of pine, in soundless memories, in longings that haven't even formed yet. But the Black Forest also looks ahead. It's a model of sustainability, of conscious tourism and environmental protection, a living reminder that the future needs roots. And when you leave, you take more than photos. You take the feeling of having been touched by the wisdom of nature and by the voice of the invisible. Stay with me, because the next stop is a place where sacred rivers wind through hills and vineyards, an enchanted valley where castles guard legends, and wine carries memories of millennia. Rhine Valley, where the waters hold ancient legends. In the heart of Germany, between Mainz and Koblenz, flows a river that carries stories, battles, and songs. The Rhine, the backbone of Central Europe. With over 1,200 kilometers in length, it crosses 6 countries. But it is here, in the German stretch, that it reveals its most enchanting face. Terraced vineyards and castles around every bend. The Rhine is not just a river, it's a storyteller, and every stone on its banks has heard whispers from kings, poets, and sailors of old. With its greenish waters, it flows through the Middle Rhine Valley, a UNESCO World Heritage Site where over 40 castles watch over the hillsides, like sleeping sentinels of the Germanic past. In the towns of Bacharach, Boppard and Rudesheim, life moves to a medieval rhythm. Cobbled streets, flowered windows, and towers that defy time. Among the most impressive stands Marksburg Castle. Never destroyed, never conquered. Here, the Middle Ages are not a memory, they're a living presence. But it's not just stone that leaves a mark. The Rhine Valley is also the birthplace of Riesling wines, grapes harvested on nearly vertical slopes, where the sun kisses the leaves and the nectar gains a soul. Boats glide across the river, carrying travelers on poetic journeys. To the left, sleeping villages. To the right, centuries-old vineyards. Ahead, the promise of yet another legend. And along the way emerges the figure of Lorelei, a rock that, according to myth, hides a mesmerizing mermaid, capable of hypnotizing sailors with her song. Sailing here is like crossing through a poem. Every bend in the river feels written in mist, wine, and longing. From atop the viewpoints, the valley reveals its ancestral symmetry, a mosaic of vineyards, waters, and towers, and in the distance, the silhouette of a Gothic jewel rises on the horizon. Cologne, a city that blossomed on the banks of the Rhine and shelters one of the greatest architectural treasures of faith, Cologne Cathedral, with its towers piercing the sky and echoing centuries of devotion. Built over more than 600 years, the cathedral is a landmark of European Gothic art, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It houses sacred relics, magnificent stained glass windows, and stories that defy time. When the bells ring in Cologne, it feels like the whole city breathes together, and the Rhine, flowing right beside it, seems blessed by the shadow of the cathedral, a meeting of stone, faith, and current. German Romanticism left deep roots here, with verses inspired by mist and taverns, with symphonies echoing from stone walls, and with loves that sailed without compass. Today, this landscape still pulses. Wine festivals, traditional regattas, bonfires by the riverbanks at dusk. It's ancestral Germany, embracing the present. And perhaps that's why this valley stirs the soul so deeply, because it reminds us of something precious. The time doesn't have to rush. It can simply flow. In the Rhine Valley, Every breeze has flavor, every sip of wine, an affection, every glance, a memory. It's the kind of place that plants roots inside us. And down below, the Rhine continues its course, serene, steady, as if singing to those who listen with true attention. But the journey goes on. In the next destination, we'll climb mountains of silence and find, among water mirrors and cliffs, one of the most untouched sanctuaries of creation, Königssee and Obersee. Königssee and Obersee, mirrors of creation in the heart of the Bavarian Alps. In Berchtesgaden, the mountains open like sacred gates, and between them emerge two glacial lakes that seem to have been shaped by eternity itself. Königssee is the better known, a deep lake surrounded by sheer cliffs. Its green waters reflect the sky with a calm that feels mystical. To reach it, electric boats glide silently across the lake, as if even mankind knew that in this place, noise has no place. The crossing feels like a ritual. The chapel of St. Bartholomew rises like a floating painting. Its red domes contrast with the green water. There, pilgrims and travelers meet in silence and reverence. Further ahead, hidden among forests and stone, Obersee reveals itself. A smaller lake, yet even wilder, an untouched mirror, protected by time. To get there, you must walk. Narrow trails lead to the edge of pristine waters, and what you see there is the purest image of the divine. At Obersee, everything is silence. Not even the wind is in a hurry. The mountains reflect with absolute perfection, as if creation were admiring itself. There would even the animals seem calmer. Wild goats appear high up, birds glide without haste, and the light dances across the surface as if in prayer. There's a moment in the day when everything stops, when the sun kisses the stone peaks and the lake turns to liquid gold, a scene too vast for words. In that moment, the two lakes seem to speak. One holds spirituality, the other raw purity. But together, they compose a soundless symphony. The waters are cold and deep, yet there's something in them that warms, as if each drop carried a memory or a prayer left behind in stone. There, time and space dissolve. The Germany you see here is not the one of cities. It is the essence, the hidden soul between sky and water. Königssee smells of wet pine, Obersee of clean stone. One is the path, the other the destination, and both lead within ourselves. It's impossible to leave this place without feeling something profound, because what you witness is not just landscape. It's a reflection of what we forget to see, creation, in its purest form. And that's why they are unforgettable. Those who gaze into these lakes carry with them more than a memory. They carry a sensation, a breath of eternity, held in silence. Nearby, Berchtesgaden National Park stretches like a sacred mantle. Trails, peaks, caves, and viewpoints guard the whisper of the wind and the mystery of a nature that has yet to surrender. Other lakes, other mountains also enchant the Bavarian Alps, but Königssee and Obersee are different. They are liquid gateways to the divine. They are not just destinations, they are states of being, places that can't be described with words, but with silence, with contemplation, with reverence. And even as time moves on, they remain, like natural altars, sculpted by water and waiting, and guarded by the mountain that never sleeps. They are places that remind us that the extraordinary doesn't always make noise. Sometimes it simply waits for us to pause and see. And when twilight embraces both lakes, the shadows stretch, revealing shapes, mysteries, and longings for what we've never been. You watching us on TV? Take this moment to check if you're already subscribed to Our Planet. That way, you'll keep exploring the extraordinary around the world in every new documentary. A simple gesture that keeps this connection between us alive. And our journey continues. The next destination will take us to a city where philosophy and poetry meet, where the Neckar River kisses medieval ruins and the castle watches the centuries pass in silence. Heidelberg, romance on the banks of the Neckar River. Between forest-covered hills awakens one of Germany's most enchanting cities, Heidelberg, an oasis of poetry on the banks of the Neckar River. With just over 160,000 inhabitants, Heidelberg is a treasure of German romanticism. Its terracotta rooftops fit gently among emerald hills. Atop the mountain stands the ruined castle, a symbol of ancient glories and eternal melancholy, a living frame of history. Heidelberg Castle combines Gothic, Renaissance and Baroque styles. Its broken towers seem to whisper secrets of emperors and alchemists. Just below, the old bridge crosses the river like a poem of stone, and in the background, the stillness of the water reflects the architecture like a mirror of the past. But Heidelberg is not only about ancient beauty, it's home to the oldest university in Germany, founded in 1386, a beacon of knowledge in Europe. Within its halls and gardens walked philosophers, poets and scientists, a cradle of ideas that shaped thoughts and revolutions. The charm of the city lies in its atmosphere of contemplation, cafes overlooking the river, century-old bookstores, and sidewalks where time walks more slowly. Heidelberg is also a temple for romantics. Couples lose themselves in its alleys and leave lovelocks on the bridge, as if love here grew roots. Climbing the trails of the Philosopher's Path offers the city's most iconic view, a living painting where light dances between castle, river, and forest. In autumn months, the trees paint the landscape in gold and red, as if each season rewrote a new chapter in the city's book. And at nightfall, the church bells echo over the Neckar, an ancestral sound that cradles the heart of the city and enchants the traveler's soul. Heidelberg has survived wars, fires, and revolutions, but it never lost its essence. It remains like a lyrical sigh between the ancient and the eternal. Walking through Heidelberg is like stepping into a lucid dream where history smiles from the windows and the present listens in silence. Perhaps that's why Heidelberg is so often remembered in songs and poems, because it's more than a city, it's a state of mind, a refuge for those seeking beauty and meaning. And when you say goodbye, you take more than just photos. You take verses, scents, reflections, and one certainty, the feeling of having lived something indescribable. And when morning mist covers the valley, the castle reappears among the clouds, a vision that gives you chills, as if time had stopped just for you. Heidelberg doesn't need to shout to be remembered. It whispers memories, philosophies, and silences that echo forever. Maybe that's why so many return to her, because Heidelberg is not just a destination, it is a reunion with the soul. But our journey is not over yet. A new miracle awaits, a floating garden over the waters, where flowers defy time, and the sky kisses the lake in secret. Get ready for the next stop, a paradise shaped like an island in the heart of German nature, where every petal has the color of poetry and every garden seems drawn from a dream. Menau Island, the heart of Lake Constance. In southern Germany blooms one of the most enchanting places in Europe, Menau Island, a botanical sanctuary where every season is an explosion of color and nature dances in perfect harmony. Connected to the mainland by a bridge, Menau is a garden island between Lake Constance and the gentle breezes of the Alps. It welcomes visitors like a living poem. Vibrant beauty is cultivated. Centuries-old roses, wisteria tunnels, tulip beds in artistic patterns, and botanical sculptures that enchant the senses. Tropical palm trees share space with giant sequoias. Greenhouses house rare orchids, and the butterfly dome reveals an ethereal ballet of colorful wings. At the top of the island, the Baroque palace dominates the landscape, once the residence of Swedish nobility. Today, it hosts exhibitions, concerts, and memories of a golden era. Fauna flourishes here too. Tropical butterflies, swans gliding across the lake, bees in natural hives, and birds that turn the gardens into a living symphony from the Creator. Every path is an invitation to contemplation. The scents shift with each step, the sounds of nature compose a symphony, and time slows down to the rhythm of the flowers. Here, everything is harmony. Architecture, botany, and the spirit of preservation unite in a silent prayer to the beauty of life. Manaus is more than just scenery. It's environmental education, it's care for the planet, a constant reminder that living in balance is possible and urgent. Being here is a return to the essential. It's walking among vibrant colors and discovering that the simple can be sacred when it blooms with love. Lake Constance mirrors the sky, and the gardens mirror the Creator. Every flower is a stroke of divine imagination, a gift that blossoms in silence. The island seems to float in time, a sanctuary of peace where humankind learns to care instead of dominate. Maybe that's what makes Manaus so unforgettable. The power of flowers to transform hearts, to plant hope in a world that needs to bloom. And as we leave, we carry something invisible, not just photos, but a new sensitivity, as if every petal had also blossomed inside us. But Germany is a land of contrasts, and from the flowers of Manaus, we are led to walls of stone. The landscape transforms, and before us appears the majesty of Saxon Switzerland. From the top of the Baste Bridge, the gaze is lost in the abyss. Suspended cliffs, rivers cutting through forest, and trails that lead to endless horizons. It feels like walking through a fairy tale where time forgot to pass. Here, silence speaks. It speaks of eternity, of strength, of creation. Saxon Switzerland is not just a landscape, it's an experience. A sanctuary carved by the divine hand to remind us that Earth still holds hidden wonders. But the journey doesn't end in the mountains. Now it's time to enter the beating heart of Germany. Get ready, because the next destination is Berlin, where history meets the future. Berlin, where history meets the future. In the heart of Europe, Berlin rises as a stage of transformation, a past marked by walls and wars, and a vibrant present where freedom pulses through the streets. Its name echoes with scars and rebirths. From Brandenburg Gate to the Reichstag, every stone holds memories of a people who resisted and began again. Here, architecture tells stories. Classical buildings converse with futuristic structures. The city lives between monuments that whisper the past and graffiti that screams the now. Museums as time's guardians safeguard relics from millennia, and in the streets, urban art blooms as a cry of expression. Berlin doesn't forget, but moves on. Germany's capital is recognized by UNESCO for its historic and cultural legacy, but its true wonder is the ability to reinvent itself, to turn ruins into a celebration of life. Alexanderplatz is the city's beating heart. TV tower, trams, people all merge in an electric rhythm. It's where the socialist past and cosmopolitan present intertwine under the same sky. To walk through Berlin is to walk through chapters of humanity. Streets once crossed by tanks are now bike lanes, and walls that once divided are now open-air galleries. At the East Side Gallery, colorful murals cover the cold concrete, a living memorial reminding the world that freedom is both a conquest and a right. At sunset, the city is bathed in gold. The light touches domes and bridges, reflects in the Spree River, and transforms the everyday into urban poetry. Berlin is plural, a symphony of languages, of cultures, of dreams, and its strength lies exactly in that diversity. In front of the wall, there is silence, a silence that honors those who fell and celebrates those who built bridges instead of barriers. The city does not fade with time. It reinvents itself on every corner, with bohemian cafes, tech startups, and parks where trenches once stood. Berlin is not just a capital, it's a manifesto, a call to memory, to forgiveness, and to the courage to dream again. Some say that walking through Berlin is diving into the soul of Europe, a soul that's marked but never broken. And when the wind blows, it brings memories and promises. That history is not a prison, but a bridge toward what's to come. The city breathes change. In graffiti, in ruins, in rebirths, Berlin pulses like a heart full of scars, strong, alive, and hopeful. This is Berlin, where history still breathes through the walls, where past and future meet at every corner, a city that was once torn apart and chose to bloom. Are you watching us on your TV and made it this far? Then grab your phone and tell us which destination in Germany touched your heart the most. Your message might inspire our next journey. Take a moment and make sure you're subscribed to Our Planet and share this video with someone who loves travel, history, and the kind of beauty only God could sculpt. Berlin is just one of the many wonders of this magnificent creation. Germany leaves us in awe, but this isn't the final wonder. Out there are landscapes that defy the senses, frozen secrets, blazing deserts, lands that feel otherworldly. If this documentary moved you, don't let the magic stop here. Our latest documentary takes you to the wonders of Chile, where ice, salt and fire shape landscapes from another world. Click now and discover how the southern tip of South America reveals the power of creation. I'll be waiting there. Come with me and discover the extraordinary around the world. A warm embrace, and until our next journey,